go ahead and get started. Don, would you lead us in our invocation tonight?
Let's bow. Father, we thank you, Lord, for this opportunity to come serve you. Pray, Lord, as we take up our city's business, God, that you'll just lead and direct us in each decision that we make. Lord, keep us safe as we travel to and from here tonight. We ask you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Ma'am, would you lead us in the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. We'll start with a roll call. Misty Cottle.
Here.
Jeff Upton. Here. Jan Throgmorton.
Here.
John Collins. Here. Don Rollins. Joe Tower.
Here.
Dina McKnight.
Here.
City Attorney and City Clerk are both present. So the first item on our agenda is the adoption of it. I do have 2 amendments that I need to make. I would like to add an amendment under old business item 3 for Tom to introduce the animal ordinance. And I would like to add to new business item 5, authorization for myself and Christie to execute CARES Act documents. And we'll discuss that as we get there. And also item 6 under new business to accept the resignation of Joe Tower. Do we have any questions about those? Do we have a motion?
Have we made it with changes, accept the changes?
Second.
We have a motion and second to accept those changes and adopt the agenda. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries. Next is the approval of our minutes from our September 8th meeting. Do we need to make any changes to those? Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve the minutes as mailed.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries. Next is our public forum, where we welcome anyone to come and address the council. We do try to limit it to 2 minutes per speaker, and we won't take any official action on anything that comes before us during the public forum. Is there anyone that would like to address the council tonight? No? Okay. We'll close the public forum and move on. So we'll move into old business. Item 1 is review our 2017 water and city audit reports. We have Mr. Jim Kennedy here to present those reports to us tonight.
Okay, I won't read the report.
Thank you.
I'll leave a few hot spots on. We issued an unmodified opinion, which is how to keep the issue on the water and sewer, the operating income, $112,000, which is an increase of $103,000 prior year. Although the net position of the equity decreased $600,000 for the year. And the reason for that is that sewer rehab project that was, a lot of that was paid with bond money and had to be paid back. You did have forgiveness of debt revenue of $314,000, but the rest of it had to be paid back, so it cuts your equity. And we call all that repairs because it was getting the system back up to its original place. Okay. We had, we found 2 material weaknesses in internal control and water and sewer. One was the segregation of duties. In a place, it's a small place, you'll always have that problem because you can't afford anything better. And our recommendation has always been to the council to monitor the numbers, ask a lot of questions, and that helps alleviate the problem. There was also a debt reserve CD of $5,000 from a retired bond fund that was used without council approval. And it should have been approved by the council before. Legitimately, just what.
Did that get corrected? Since it wasn't approved, did we approve it later on?
Yes. I think we did. I think so, Misty.
Anyway, on the city, we prepared it on a regulatory basis of the county. That's the basis accepted by the state of Arkansas. It was also an unmodified opinion. The general fund had excess of revenue over expenses of $246,000. The street had expenses over revenue of $42,000. The general fund sales tax over budget was on $63,000, so we had a lot more than we budgeted for that year. And our only comment on that on the city was was the segregation of duties again. Okay? And I just want to say that Christian's doing a great job, and we made some adjustments, but we wasn't bad. I think a lot of work.
Any questions for Jim? No? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Be careful on your way back home.
Without objection, you'll say the council has received the audit.
Okay, without objection, the council has received the audit? Yes? Okay.
Jim?
All right. Item 2 of old business. We had a empty council seat from a resignation past month. I would like to recommend Marty Lindaberry to fill that vacant seat. Do we have any questions?
How many people put in for it?
3.
Can you tell us who they are?
Yeah. Randall Schwab, Marty, and Clay. Thank you, Clay Hungate. Any other questions? Any questions for Marty?
Are you just gonna sit there?
Do we have a motion?
I'll make it.
I'll
That we
second.
approve Marty as new council member.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion approved. Marty, would you please come up and have a seat by Dina?
Sorry, that's the only seat that was in.
Well, I just go ahead and swear in now.
Yep, you've got enough. You've got enough. You can bring one.
I did.
You can.
So Marty, if I could swear you in real quick. If you raise your right hand. I'm going to say I, you're going to state your name. I do solemnly swear
I, Marty Lindaberry, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Arkansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Arkansas,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of City Council
of the office of City Council,
upon which I am now about to enter.
upon which I am now about to enter.
Thank you.
Last chance.
All right, item 3 of old business. Tom will introduce our animal ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor. You all have received this, sort of some changes to the animal ordinance. I think we adopted this, it's probably 8-10 years ago now. And it's had a few changes since then. It's got a few more, and what we'll do is we'll adopt the entire code again next month. And what we do is we introduce it tonight. It's in rough form right now because it's got the changes that are suggested, I guess, by everyone who's looked at it. And we'll put it into form tomorrow morning, and then Christie will have it in her office for 30 days or so until the next meeting. And then it will adopt it with an ordinance that just adopts the whole code, so you don't have to go through page by page. So any questions about that, we can talk about them now, and then the public, of course, can talk to you about it either tonight if they like, or of course, next month as well, if there are questions about it. It looks like, Mayor, could you summarize the biggest changes, or really the only changes, besides typographical errors, is?
So, no, I can't.
Well,
We have been going over a different ordinance since.
we basically
then.
put, we made sure Washington County is
Yes.
in there as our destination for our animals. We have dogs and cats in there. Boy, besides that, and Chief, you know, I'm sure that you wanted to make sure you went through this to make sure it is what you guys can do. There's nothing really major besides that. You still can't keep tigers and monkeys in the city. Can't do it. So that's been introduced,
Okay.
right?
Any questions about that?
No.
Okay.
We'll see it again in November.
All right, perfect. So let's move on to business reports. Planning Commission, Walter Harnish.
Evening. So last meeting was a little productive. We had 3 lot splits, so we passed them all. Since then, we had a special meeting to review the proposed zoning ordinance, new zoning ordinance, Title 14, and looked into it. We're still kind of hashing out definitions, how many we need versus how many we can get rid of, and some of the descriptions and intents on the zoning, actual zones themselves, just what kind of intent and description do we want to have for them. And I feel like we made some pretty good headway. Other than that, we have, for somebody who's entered in an application to be on the planning commission, Mr. Randall Schwab, I don't know if he's here tonight. I know you guys have in the past jumped over our recommendation. If you want to go ahead and do that tonight, I don't think there'd be a revolt on your hands.
That's all right, we'll wait.
Or we can wait, we meet with them at our meeting here
Yeah.
on Thursday. Anybody's welcome to be there, 6:30, right here.
Any questions for Walter?
No, sir.
Thank you, Brad.
Okay. Court report, Tracy?
I think we had a pretty good month last month compared to the other months. Our disbursements were up about 19,000 from the month before. Our year-to-year comparison, we're down overall, but only about 10,000 in disbursements from last year. On the tickets, we were up almost 100 from last month and up 78 from last year. And our year-to-year comparison on the tickets is, we're up about 300 from that. Everything's smooth sailing. And we are back to using our courtroom. I don't know if I mentioned that last month or not, but we have been, the judge has been seeing people back in the courtroom again, but not a whole lot of people, just like, I don't know, I think our biggest day was about 6 people so far. And we're still trying to screen everybody before they come in and, make sure that if they don't want to plead guilty, we give them their trial notice before they ever go into the courtroom and send them on their way.
Any questions for Tracy? Has everyone seen the signs down at the court building?
It was really good. People liked it.
Are they heat resistant? Because I think part of them were melted.
We'll look into that.
I do on the afternoon side, which
Yeah.
can be so bad in a little bit. But
Okay.
I think maybe the R is melting in court. But I really like the signs. They look nice and we've had a lot of comments.
All right. Any other questions for Tracy? Okay. Library report, Shannon?
We have officially had our soft opening by appointment every Thursday, and that's for browsing and computer usage. That's gone great. Everyone's been very respectful. We're just doing everything we can to accommodate everyone, and we're still encouraging primarily the curbside services. I've seen some Halloween chat, so as far as the library goes, we are having a social distance trick-or-treating from 5 to 7:30. You can take pictures on our backdrop, and we're planning on working with the city. So as a couple of us directors have talked about it, if they want to join our library parking lot, we'll be shooting candy down some PVC pipe, but we'll make it lots of fun, and we're hoping to have more join, or maybe make a map of others doing it in the community so everyone can kind of know what to do that night if they want. We're also promoting a Go Green for Halloween contest with first, second, and third prizes on making a decoration for the library that we'll put on our porch and with recyclable items. And we have a board meeting next week, so I'm sure I will come with more updates then. And we do plan to have a grand opening event. We just want to make it at the right time, whether it's virtual or half and half. We're still figuring that out, so we'll let you know.
Any questions for Shannon?
Oh, and also the September curbside on the checkouts, you can see have almost doubled. And that's probably because we've now opened up where you can have holds through Washington County. So all of the libraries are sharing books again. So it's nice to see that the word's continuing to get out and that more patrons are utilizing the services. Yeah.
No questions? Okay, so Shannon and I will meet Friday to do the Ask the Mayor again at 3 o'clock, and we hope to have some coordination on what's going on around the city for Halloween. And we'll share that at the Ask the Mayor if we have that information at the time. Chief Nelson, give us a police
We
report.
had 346 calls for service, 105 citations, 65 warnings, 49 warrants, and I believe we had 0 break-ins, which is a good thing. I want to cover something on Facebook, always, once a month. They said our officer entered the house in Greenland, didn't knock. He's very upset about that. He did knock on the door, he did announce who he was. We did reach out to that family. We know they have security cameras, and they won't return our calls. So that's where we're at on that. But besides that, it's been a pretty good month, pretty normal. Not much else going on.
Any questions for Chief Nelson? No? Okay. Public Works, Isaac.
Our committee was able to meet this last month, so we do have some minutes in there. One thing we did discuss getting a flow monitor, a new flow monitor, and it is here and in place, and we are collecting data over around the school. So we're in that catch-22 where we really need it to rain so we can get some data, and really don't need it to rain so we have more water. The mayor asked me to update you guys on what we had done for the last couple of months. I went back to the end of August. We have cambered roughly 6,500 feet pipe. We've repaired 6 point repairs, made 4 manhole repairs that were missed in the Davis rehab, killed up 3 taps, and we've identified 5 line replacements, totaling 1,500 feet of pipe that needs to be replaced. And we're kind of judging that on if we camber a piece of pipe and we're going to have to cut out 20–25% of it to make all the repairs, more cost effective just to replace the whole thing. So, yeah, we've been busy the last couple months. We are nearing the end of our sewer main bill. It's going to need an update on that, so I will let him have that. And then if you have any questions for either one of us.
Okay, as far as construction progress, the force main, the pressure line in Fayetteville, we're almost done putting that in. We're about 99% installed. We got about 250 foot left there at the final lift station. We got everything done under the river. Got the mitigation work I mentioned last month done. The contractor was doing on their own nickel. Got that all done. It turned out really good. The gravity line coming back here to Westport to the plant. They've just really been, that's all installed except the last manhole and 100 foot of pipe right there. But they've been epoxy coating manholes, putting coating on the deeper ones to protect them long term. Over on the Fayetteville side, they've got all the pipe in now, all the 24 inches laid, all the 8 inches laid. They're testing the lines now and doing epoxy coating there. Lift station had some good news today. The flow meter is being delivered to the city of Fayetteville this Thursday. We were worried about the schedule on that. That might have caused some delays, but it's coming in this week. The gas line was supposed to get started this week, which was another item we were worried about. They were able to get the wet well coated, and then the pumps actually showed up today too. They've been sitting in a warehouse for several months and actually brought them on site today, which means they're going to get installed here pretty quickly. Overall, we're a little over 80% complete in terms of dollars spent. And, right now, after our meeting last week with the contractor, we're looking at substantial completion next month, still pumping to Fayetteville. Pumps on and all the flow going to Fayetteville. Not exactly sure when in November, probably, I'm thinking more mid-November. The original date was supposed to be early, but they've got some weather days that we're gonna add to their contract. I think we're looking at about 14 days over the course of a year, which isn't bad given all the rain that we've had. They worked in the rain from November last year until about May. And they worked through a lot of salty, wet days, so everything's going well there. Something probably next month I'm pushing on the contractor right now is we're gonna be coming with a change order, actually the number 3, I won't mark this too, but there's been a few things piling up over the past couple of months we need to address with the contractor. The water line going to the lift station, we did some upgrade on the pressure class and added a blow off at the end. The city of Fayetteville is actually gonna take over that line as a public line, which will benefit Isaac, because he was gonna have to maintain a 2,000-foot long, 2-inch service line. So city of Fayetteville is gonna take ownership. There's some sewer services on the Fayetteville side that have to get tied in. That cost is all gonna be paid 100% by Fayetteville, any additional costs over what was in the bid. The lift station, we had to change the type of product we were coating the lift station with because we had so much groundwater there. The original product that we usually use doesn't do well when the concrete's wet, so we switched to a product that you can put on while it's wet. We've got some access road work to do over on Mr. Baggs. And then Isaac's wanting, we requested the contractor a price for TV and some of the larger lines y'all have in the system, your 12-inch main, basically from the plant all the way across the river back to Doak, minus the siphon under the river. But just to let y'all know, we'll be coming with that, but we are underrunning the total contract right now. So when we come with costs, additional costs, I'll make sure and tell you where we are overall, because we're actually underrunning several pay items and haven't used several where that'll be offset by that. So likely won't be looking at an increase in cost. It'll just be kind of an offset when we get to the end of the project there. What else do I have here? Isaac and Will and I have a call with DEQ on Thursday afternoon to talk about closing out the plant and our proposed method of closing out the ponds. We're going to see how receptive they are to it. So far, they seem open to it, but wanted to discuss specifics. Still got some open-ended items with the archaeologist to resolve at some point. We'll talk to you, Mayor, and the city attorney afterwards. But really, things have been going really well there. We're keeping ADQ updated with our status reports every month. We're sending them our weekly lab results. I think they've been appreciative of that. They really haven't pushed back on anything there. And I guess the next step, once we get to probably next month too, we'll probably start talking about, as we finish the construction of the main project, we still got to close out the plant, but then with any additional work that could be done with remaining funds there, because we will have some funding left over. I know we talked in generalities about it, but I should have a much better idea next month of how much that's going to be and what we can do with it. So, y'all any questions?
Any questions for Nick? So a couple things before we move on, and I do just want to make sure everybody's aware of it, and that way if you have questions, we can get them answered. But the state came up, what was it, last week?
Yeah, last week.
And sat down and talked to us about what we're going to do with the money that we have left over from this. The state does not want us to pay down the bond with that leftover money. They want us to fix the I&I problem. So while some have taken to Facebook and have suggested that maybe we're overpaying our city employees and tried to use them for a political pawn to score some Facebook points, I&I is actually what is the expense for our sewer bills right now. I'm a little discouraged that the Facebook warriors didn't show up tonight so that I could address them face to face. But anyway, I do want you to be aware that when this project is over, there's going to be a couple $100,000 left over. The state does not want that money back paid down on the bond. They want it to go back into I&I. And so when they calculated these sewer rates, they took into account we have X number of people, 750 approximately, paying on this bond, okay? But every gallon of sewage that gets treated, we're charged approximately $5 per 1,000 gallons, okay? That's the real expense in the sewer, is the fact that we're treating water that we're not selling, right? And so we've discussed that at length in these council meetings. Marty, I know you're kind of new to this, and feel free to call and I'll get you caught up. I have a ton of sewer lingo. But I just want you to be aware that when this, as Nick was saying, we're not going to pay that money back on the loan, okay? And that's at the state's recommendation.
I think that's a wise investment, though,
It is.
in the long term.
Yes. And that's why they're not going to let us do it, essentially.
We have to pay it back eventually though, right? Just not on the loan.
Yeah.
Correct.
Just at the end rather than the beginning.
Right.
So I want them to take the loan money, to take the loan money.
Right, exactly.
Yes. That's essentially what they're saying.
But to invest into stopping something that's a problem, it's gonna continue to be a problem, we pay off the loan money for the whole thing.
The loan payment's built into the rate right now.
Correct.
And every bit of I&I we can lowers what we'll pay monthly
Right.
for our treatment, which means we don't have to worry about our rates going up because we're treating rainwater.
Correct. Yes.
Well, I do have one question. Now, Isaac, were you saying you've got some line that the depth and the positioning adjacent to a roadway or in the roadway is gonna make it difficult?
Yeah.
Something that you need to stick a properly equipped contractor onto?
And that's really the section that runs between Doak and Bluff Street along Main Street there. It's right on the edge of the road and it's about 12 foot deep. And that's, we really want the contractor to come and try to camera that to see if it has issues, because that's one that we would like to offer up for them, because we're just not equipped to do something along the state highway that deep and manage traffic control and do it safely, so.
So if worst case scenario, which lately you seem to be getting that on the lines, if that comes to pass, these funds could be used for something that is, with the equipment that the city crews have, this money could be used for that, to remove something large from the table. So
Yes.
it's-
And I think Nick is going to give us some proposals of different areas from some of what Isaac's cambered and looked at, and so we can look at and decide what areas do we want to tackle with that money. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
We have identified some areas that they really do need to be replaced, but we could probably tackle them and get them to do a section like Main Street that we can't. So we're really trying to hustle around and find the ones that we need to replace and then give them the toughest ones.
Gotcha.
Another thing that Nick touched on was, we talked last month about the archaeologist contract. That we had a contract in place, we kind of felt like he was coming back to us. So after the meeting, we talked a little bit. Tom counseled us that, typically, taking a hard stance like we did, the courts will typically say, if a guy does work, a guy or gal does work, they deserve pay for that work. And so Tom was just kind of, cautioned us, hey, be prepared, the court may make you guys pay for some of that. Since then, we We have, when we met with the state kind of took the same stance that we took, that contract covered what he was doing. And so the state has directed Nick to look into a couple things to see whether or not we have to move forward with some of this stuff. So just know that's still out there. As Tom said, we may wind up having to pay a little bit more on this, but at the end of the day, I think this guy's probably getting a little bit more pressure put on him than what he really wanted put on him now that the state's looked into it. And so
But he's still got to generate the report for the sign-off, right?
potentially,
Oh,
that's Nick's gonna update us on some of that in the coming future. So just that way everyone's aware and we don't forget about that. That is still out there, and we may have to deal with it in the future.
Did he ever say how much he was wanting when he wanted to, add more money?
He originally wanted an extra $77,000.
It started at 70, and we've got it down to 26,000 and some change.
Yeah.
well, just I forget, but what was his initial quote, his initial bid in the entirety?
The contract.
Yeah, what was the contract amount?
It was 50,000.
So COTS is 77,000 on a,
Yeah.
okay. Never mind.
All right, any questions for Nick or Isaac from the council?
No, but I did want you to maybe, if you wanted to mention, hang on here, 1, 2, 3, the third paragraph on his stuff about the director stated that paving on James Place and major repair on South 40 would be the focus of 2021. I thought maybe Andy could pass along the word, and I don't know if he knew that or the residents.
Yeah, I mean, sewer takes up a lot of my time, so we do have a paving award to do tonight for our budget this year for Culp Trail and Church. Next year, we are trying to budget, if our budget is approved, to do some additional paving on James Place. And we would really like to start trying to do something with South 40 because it is our biggest thorn. We're out there trying to gather that up every time it comes to rain, so yes, that is our hope next year that we can do some more work like that.
I just didn't know if Andy had seen it or.
That's a good point.
Because you brought that up last month, wasn't it? So,
Anything else for Isaac or Nick? No? All right. Let's move on to our parks report. Chad?
Jennifer Sims couldn't be here tonight, so she wanted me to give a brief report on the Memorial Committee and the Christmas Light and Parade Committee, so I'll start there first. As far as the memorial, their next steps are just researching some costs of the monuments themselves and some concrete and some landscaping, things like that, and then start fundraising and getting the word out and get some sponsorships and fundraising. But they pretty well handled their activities till next year. They plan on meeting sometime after the first year to discuss some of that and see where they're at. That's about it, put in hand. As far as the Christmas light contest, they do plan on moving forward with the Christmas light contest and having it in similar capacity as they have in the past. The parade, they have set a meeting date of November 5th to discuss the parade further and make a final decision if they're going to try to have a Christmas parade due to COVID. I know that they're leaning towards just having the parade, maybe getting rid of some of the other activities like the tree lighting and the vendors and things that do tend to draw more of a crowd to one area. I know the school will probably be very limited if they can participate in any fashion. Their Department of Education is pretty well put a clamp on them to do those kind of activities, so they're gonna see what other towns are doing and try to make a decision at that November 5th meeting on what they're gonna be able to do, if anything. I think that's about it as well. So as far as Parks Department, my committee also was able to meet this month. We haven't met in a while. We pretty much have just been meeting on, when we really need to meet for the July event, and then, for them to help me put together the 2021 budget proposal. So we did meet, there's some minutes in there. I won't go over that stuff, they're pretty brief, because most of it was about our next year's budget. But, as far as the Parks Department, we've been doing some upgrades to our disc golf course. We were able, with the help of Isaac and his crew, we were able to switch out all our tee pads from turf to concrete, put new 5x9 concrete pads in there. We still have to do some build-up around them and some dressing up of them, but they look really good. They haven't been in there long, we just finished those up last week, but I've already got some really positive feedback. And with the cooler weather and the thinning of the underbrush, we've done some clearing, but we have plans to do some more. With cooler weather and less bugs and those things, it's really getting big and a lot of traffic down there, a lot of activity. And it's starting to look really, really nice. We get done with everything we want to do, it's going to be really nice. As far as the baseball and softball, our fall program, as y'all know, did not make, but our fields are still getting lots of activity. Fayetteville is renting, their youth baseball program is renting 3 of our fields 2 nights a week, being used. So we're still doing field maintenance and prep and things. We're also getting a lot of teams practicing down there as well. So it's been good to see people down there in those fields to get activity, but it's kept us pretty busy as well. But it's also brought a lot of people in as well. We're getting teams from Springdale, Rogers, Fayetteville, Farmington, Elkins, playing down there and practicing. You've got a team coming out of Fort Smith that's practicing there on a pretty regular basis as well. So it's bringing people in and getting some activity and showing off our facility a little bit, so getting it some exposure. So, other than that, we've just been maintaining the mowing, slowing down with the drier weather. Now it's leaf blowing and things of that nature. We're still doing our disinfecting as often as possible, our equipment, our facilities. We did this building yesterday, started doing the courts building as well, so that's keeping us busy as well. And then a couple of items that were brought up at last month's meeting when I wasn't here. One was the graffiti on some of the pavilions. We do have a plan to get that removed, and we will get to that as soon as possible. The new fence that we put out here and some old fence at Riverside as well, we're gonna have that stain, some of that restain, and when we get that graffiti off, we'll have some of the pavilions touched up as well to help spruce those up and make them look better. So we do have plans to get that taken care of. And then the other was restrooms at Riverside, I think was brought up. We have done some checking on some different options down there. It's still in our future plans to hopefully be able to do something down there. But we don't have any immediate plans to do anything as far as restrooms are concerned. Cost is an issue, but maybe even a bigger issue is maintenance and upkeep of those things once they do get here, because it may be rough. But we're looking, we are still, that is in our plans to keep researching it, so. And I think that's everything.
Any questions for Chad? No? Okay, thank you, sir. Chief Myers. I'm sorry.
Travis.
Well, I'm certainly not Chief Myers.
Assistant Chief.
Thanks for having me, everyone. Chief is out of town. So a couple items that we wanted to talk about is we're wanting to be involved, of course, with the trunk or treat or whatever it turns into, because we're excited and we want to do something anyway. So we're excited about that. We got blessed to assist with the drive-by parade for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. That was amazing. If you've never done anything like that, you certainly should. We also had a county radio meeting that I believe the mayor went to. That there's a lot going on with the county radio system, and so there's a long way for us to go in emergency services to get what we need.
because they're kind of not wanting to take care of us as well as we think they should. And so we've been having some meetings with them. They've taken that to the county judge. We don't know any results about that second meeting with that yet. We also had a live fire training exercise on Lloyd Street. I believe Chief Meyer brought it up to you guys last month. It was phenomenal. We got over 300 hours of training. We have so many new firefighters, and it was wonderful to get them in there where they could see a little bit of the intensity and the sheer terror of being inside of a structure fire, and get a lot of respect for it, while at the same time getting to use our tools that we don't need to use very often, thank goodness, but we have to be practiced with. It was amazing. Heath Clower asked us to do that. We get asked to do that often, but it's usually 20 minutes out of town where we have water supply, and we would get tied up with our equipment there, and it's too difficult when you have to roll up a bunch of hoses to get in and out for the next call. So this, having a property right by a hydrant on the street that there was lots of access for people to get around us, it was a huge blessing. And that was, the only casualty was an axe. And so that was a wonderful learning experience. And as a training officer, it was probably the highlight of the last 4 or 5 years. So it was wonderful. Does anyone have any questions or anything for me?
No? Thank you, Travis. All right, Christie, you want to give us our finance report?
Sure. Our bank balances have increased by almost $230,000 so far this year. Our departments are under budget by $291,000, with the administration of justice still being the only department that is over budget. And it's staying very steady at that $1,400-$1,500 over budget each month, so it probably is going to be there, but overall that's still really good for where we kind of thought we might be this time of year when March hit. Our sales tax is still, city sales tax is still staying at 16% over what we had last year. And I think we got on the Department of Finance and kind of looked to see if we could see what changes were from this year versus last year. It's a very challenging site to navigate, but I think a lot of it is due to online sales that obviously have picked up because of COVID, but the law changed on online sales and the tax that you have to collect also. So I think the two of those combined probably are a good portion of that. Plus people are shopping, they're getting out or shopping locally a little bit more too. So hopefully we'll continue to see those numbers. Any questions?
No? So a couple things to note. Christie mentioned that she went out and got on the sales tax site so that we could see what was generating sales tax in the area. She has since provided every other small town in our area with the information of how to do that. So Christie was the only one looking at it for a little while. But we've provided that information to Farmington, Prairie Grove, Lincoln, Elkins, Goshen. So anyway, just want to attaboy to Christie. Couple other things I want to talk about with Christie for a moment. So we talked about a year ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, about the city starting to move to an electronic data storage way of life and get away from, we have certain retaining requirements for documents. And so right now we're filling up the vault with paper documents, but we have moved forward with this year's budget. We've purchased the software. Christie, as it came in, have you done the training yet?
The printer came in this week, we've got it in, or the scanner, sorry, we've got it, we do have it installed, we're gonna do training Tuesday, and
Okay.
Nate and I are gonna do some training on Tuesday.
And so it will allow them, instead of putting the stuff in a file cabinet, they can scan it in. It has some other capabilities that hopefully we get to start taking advantage of citywide coming up in the future. But this software, it's built for municipalities in that we can put a document on there, and unlike a PDF document, where if I was to put a PDF out there, if somebody had the right PDF software, right, if they'd bought the right edition of Adobe, they could go make changes to it. But with this software, we can put it out there, there can be no changes made to it. It's built for cities and government entities. So I'm excited about where that's going to take us. Again, we've talked about sometime in a world where maybe we have an iPad in front of us instead of an agenda, and that we can pull up some different things. And this is a step in that direction. It is also a step in the direction of freeing up hard space. Storage space is expensive when you think about, you could have another body there. So anyway.
Can I just add to that, and because the space is great, although we're still gonna have some paper copies that are required for us to keep until they're audited or whatever. But security of those documents and a backup of those documents, we have, of course, ordinances that date back to the beginning of West Fork. If we had a fire in the building, they would all be gone. We have no backup of those items. So this program is a cloud-based program. So if we do have some kind of natural disaster or something like that, we'll have all of it once we get them scanned, obviously. And our plan for that is to start with the newest and work backwards once we get the training and everything. But those are probably going to be our top priority. The ordinances and those type items will be our top priority to get them scanned in. I don't know how yet, but once we do that, there'll also be a way that we can make those available to the public, so that they can just get on there and type a word in, and it would bring up every ordinance that has the word park in it or whatever. So it would free up some FOIA requests, that type of thing. People could go in and do their own research if they want to. So we're looking forward to it. It's kind of a chaotic time to do all that right now, but we'll do it.
And that brings me to my next point. The reason it's kind of a chaotic time right now is you may have heard something in the news about the CARES Act and how it can add funding to cities. So when this initially came out, it looked like if we rounded up enough stuff, enough receipts, and if Christie basically put in 25 or 30 extra hours, we could get about $1,000 out of this. Christie found out yesterday that without quite so much work, still quite a bit of work, but not as much, we're going to get about $91,000 out of the CARES Act. So just wanted to highlight that while we were on Christie's section of the business reports.
Good job. Earmarked for anything?
Don't know when we'll get it yet.
But if we get it, it could be used for anything in the city, like any department that needed it, or is it?
Give us a rundown on the CARES Act, Christie.
So I talked to the auditor actually, and there's some question in that. I'm doing, Arkansas Municipal League is helping me through the process of doing that application. My understanding from them when I talked to them today is that it is a reimbursement for police and fire salaries that we've already paid this year. And so it's money that would basically go back into the general fund. The auditor told me tonight when he was here when we were talking about it to verify that we didn't have to put it back into police and fire salaries. Either way, that money next year wouldn't have to be done this year, but it is a reimbursement for salaries that we've already paid. So I think it will be able to just go back into the general fund, and then we can allocate where it goes to. But I'm gonna verify that and make sure that it doesn't actually have to be earmarked for salaries again. So, thank you.
Any other questions? No? Do you have anything else, Christie? Okay. So let's move into our new business. Item 1 is to approve our property tax levy of 5 mills to the general fund. This is what we do every year so that we get it. I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but it looks like there are a couple cities and schools that are going to have to reduce their mills.
Based on the rollback.
Yeah. So, anyway, for us, we don't have to worry about that. We just need to approve that yes, we would like to accept our 5 meals.
I'll make a motion.
A second.
Motion and second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries. Marty, we do this every year with that one. One town did not do it, and then they had a real mess on their hands because they lost out on thousands of dollars, just simply because they didn't approve that. So, item 2, review bids for paving project on Church Street and Culp Trail. Award lowest bid to Hutchins Construction in the amount of $33,345. And B of that is to authorize the mayor to enter into the contract with Hutchins Construction for the amount of $33,345. Are there any questions on that? Did you guys look at those bids? That is part of that sewer. The one on Culp is where we dug up that entire street with the sewer.
Make a motion, we approve it for the mayor to go into the contract.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to review these bids, to award the bid to Hutchins Construction, and to authorize the mayor to enter into the contract.
That's what I said.
Okay, motion and we had a second on that? Okay, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries. Item 3 is a change order for Boyles Construction Sewer Project. They're constructing concrete casing anchors, no cost, no increase in contract time. This work is already complete, correct, Nick? So we just basically need to approve that change order.
I'll make a motion to approve it. $0 change of release.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries. Item 4. Yes. Item 4, approve agreement for continuation of the ambulance services through the Washington County Regional Ambulance Authority. So on this, with EMS, all the mayors are on the board of the Ambulance Authority. We did vote this year to, in the past, we pay a per capita. Every city pays a per capita based on the census. And I don't remember how many dollars it is a piece. Anyway, we pay a couple dollars a piece per capita based on the census. The Central EMS is a fantastic organization. We all know that, but the inner workings of Central EMS is even more fascinating. But they do run into cash crunches occasionally because of how they're paid. So as the ambulance authority this year, we did vote to move to using regional planning's, their census estimate for the towns. And so regional planning keeps a running estimate of what the census changes are in the cities in the area. What this change did was it allows Central EMS to get an increase in funding each year in a small amount, whereas in the past they have waited for the census to come out and then it would be a large amount. And so many of the mayors felt like it's easier on our budgets if we can do those incremental increases each year as opposed to every 10 years having a huge hit to the budgets. And so that's what we did. And that documentation's in the packet. You can see where they estimate West Fork's census, and you can see it kind of carried out to the future years. But anyway, so that's what this is. It's just to approve the agreement that we've had in place that we renew each year to continue to fund Central EMS.
I'll make a motion that we approve it.
Motion is second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries. Item 5, authorize Heath and Christie to execute the CARES Act documents. This is what I was speaking of, that Christie is working on getting us that extra $90,000, but we are going to need to sign some documents to move that forward.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries. Item 6. We need to accept the resignation of Joe Tower.
And Judge Miller.
This one should be appointed in November.
Yes.
We have to, if we accept tonight, we'll appoint in November. We could accept in November and appoint in December. Just what we think is best.
So that says we have to appoint in November.
Right, we have to appoint the next regular meeting after acceptance.
Whether or not we have someone or not.
Correct.
Well, Mr. Mayor,
We could
I took a
accept in
guess.
November, because he's here.
Yeah.
It would make sense, and then we would appoint in December. So whatever you and the council think you want to do.
Okay, so what Tom is telling me is that if we accept, vote to accept his resignation tonight, we would need to appoint a member at the November meeting. Whereas if we vote in November to accept his resignation, we would have until December to appoint?
Yes, sir. I mean, Joe is here now, and he has given us this resignation. In Arkansas, a resignation can be withdrawn until it's accepted under Arkansas law, and there have been some cases about that. Joe, clearly he's loving tonight. You can tell by looking at him.
Well,
And it may be that he loves it so much that he says, you know, Mayor, like tomorrow morning, he may be at your, you know, knock on your door before you wake up and say, I gotta change my mind. Please don't, you know, let me, so that could happen. Anyway, if you accept it in November, you would have to appoint in December. If you accept tonight, we have to appoint in November. Okay?
I would like to make an amended statement. I took a guess on when it would best serve you to resign, this month or next month with the election coming. And as most of my guesses, my wife points out, it's hit or miss. I like serving the city. I wouldn't mind coming to another meeting. I simply did it to free you up to make your next step in appointing another council member. We talked about it, the meeting before I hurt myself. So I just took a guess at what would best serve your purpose. So I'll withdraw tonight. You want me to come to another meeting, or?
You wouldn't even have to come in November, even if you didn't. I think that the timing wise, I think I want to give the mayor and council time to find someone if they need more than this coming month.
So would the council be all right with us waiting till December to appoint?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, if that would give you all more time, then I would say, we thank Joe for giving us this note and for his service. We may or may not see him in November, but we'll accept it in November.
Okay.
You might decide to sell that new house out there.
They might. So, Christie, we would,
They're selling it.
or you may get it
I'm
annexed
afraid
in
my
record
wife
time.
would beat me up
Like,
right now.
well, he's not here anymore. Oh, no, that was you. We got it annexed in record time. So, Christie, it'll be on the agenda for acceptance in November.
Okay. So we'll address that at a future time.
We will hate to see you go.
Yes.
He's still got to put up with me for a little while.
They don't help us.
Isaac can't buy a break.
You don't need a break.
All right, so other business. We have a budget workshop scheduled with the council for Tuesday, October 20th at 6 o'clock here at the community center. And you guys received the budget, the 2021 budget in your packet. So we'll have that.
Please review it ahead of time. If you have specific questions about what's on a line item, I will not remember during the workshop. So if you wonder what makes up a line item, please send me an email. I'll answer it gladly in a workshop, but I will not remember during a workshop. So if you have questions beforehand that you can send me, I can either answer them beforehand or at the workshop, but I would appreciate a heads up if you've got a question that you know of ahead of time.
Any questions about that? Okay. Lastly, mayor's comments. As I mentioned, Shannon and I will be doing an Ask the Mayor Friday at 3 o'clock. Hopefully we'll have an idea of what's going on for Halloween. As far as, I shouldn't have said it that way. The city does not decide when Halloween is or when it takes place. But we are trying to provide some information on the coordination of what this place or that place is doing. We do We do assume Halloween will be Saturday, though. Not that we set the date, but we assume that that's the date people will be out. Also wanted to mention the Shire Post, the new company coming into town. So we had a groundbreaking this past month with them. Unfortunately for them, we had so many pretty days in a row, and then their groundbreaking was on the one day that it decided to rain. But pretty interesting situation. I thought they would be breaking ground by this week, maybe next week, but they're super close to getting started on that, hoping to be open for business this coming spring, maybe early summer. But really neat business, and something I was not aware of until I looked into them a little bit more, but they're actually an international business, so they do business all over the world. And part of the reason they're coming to West Fork, it's a family-owned business. One of the family members lives here in the community. They live out on Campbell Loop, but they keep having people show up from all over the world. They're in Springdale right now, out of basically a garage, and they would have people show up from all over the world wanting to come and tour their facility. And they said, we didn't have anything to tour. It was, a good spot for somebody to get hurt. So business was good, and they started looking for a new place. And the family member that's in the area was pushing for West Fork, and that's how we ended up with them. But really neat company. So we have that coming. Hopefully they'll break ground this week or next. Have you heard anything, Isaac, that I don't know about?
They submitted their revised plumbing plans and stuff, and I approved them, and I haven't heard anything since,
So one thing that's kind of interesting about their plans, and I don't know if anybody stopped by the city admin and looked at them or not, but everyone knows where they're going, right? In between Superfoods and Jake's. But they have how many spots? 3 spots now for food trucks?
Yeah, up to 4 spots.
Up to 4 spots that they've plumbed in for electric and water out in the parking lot. So we don't really know what's going to come out of that, but it's kind of cool. Yeah. Anyway, so with that, if there's no other questions, I would see a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries.